Welcome to the Love Not Fear podcast, your daily source of inspiration and actionable insights. I'm David Henzel, and together with my co-host Eduard Brink, we're digging into topics of personal development, organization development, all with the aim of shifting the narrative from fear to love. Eduard, my friend, what are we talking about today?
I'd like to go back on a topic that has passed at least once in the previous episodes, and that is the Serenity Prayer. And I believe you made a bold statement that the Serenity Prayer took away 90% of your stress and anxiety. So I think this is worthy of its own podcast. So remind me, what is the Serenity Prayer?
The Serenity Prayer is a prayer, I think it's from 1920, Reinhold Niebuhr, if I pronounce his name correctly, and became very popular through AA, the Alcoholics Anonymous, which I've never been part of, but I think it's a really cool organization. The prayer goes, God grant me serenity to accept change, the courage to change things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Which I think makes all the sense in the world, because if you focus on things you can't control, then you're in an absolute state of victimhood, and it's not a good place to be. And yeah, living by this quote unquote prayer helps me tremendously in life to just be less stressed, because I only focus on what I can impact.
Can we break it down into the two elements? Because there's this acceptance of the things you cannot change. So it's looking at stuff. If the world is on fire, what am I to do? Be realistic about what you can do, and be cool about that. And courage. I love the courage part. And then, knowing the difference. So it's the three parts that are very strong.
Yeah, for example, when my wife was diagnosed with cancer, the doctor told me, and I had like a very unpleasant feeling in my stomach. But then I immediately went to, okay, this really, really sucks. But what can we do to make sure she's better, to make sure she's healing, right? Then I come from victim, feeling bad, to action, and I use the change something. Same if I do something that, let's say, pisses off my wife. If I sit in the corner and feel bad about this, then she also has no benefit from this, versus saying like, okay, this sucks, I fucked up. What can I do to make it right again? What can I do to make sure it never happens again? So turning this negative energy into something positive and action and make things happen.
What happens if it's something as deep and personal that you just shared, if you would go straight into the mode of acceptance and energy to do whatever you can? I think there's also an element for a little grief. There's I find a huge value in allowing emotions for a certain time, but then also trying to compartmentalize those emotions, and so you can look at it.
I'm probably the wrong person to talk to about this, because I have this aphantasia condition, and for me, it's just like always goes to straight logically. And when my father died when I was 12, it took me an afternoon to get over it. Again, it's nobody's fault. It's nothing I can do. It is what it is.
This is a good time to announce that you're a robot and you're not even human. This is an AI.
The Americans always said you're German, but then when I told the Germans the thing, then they're like, no, what are you talking about? So.
Okay. Yeah, but it's pretty obvious that if something externally happens, that you have to recollect yourself and get a stance and get going from there. But what if there are options, like for instance, if you're in a business and you don't know if you need to continue or not? It's not a black and white situation, and it's not something that's been. It's not a diagnosis that you get boom. It's something that happens gradually over time. There's huge courage needed to change your whole self-image. Yesterday, I spoke to a friend of mine. He used to be a banker, and he is going to venture into education. Took him a long time to adopt a new narrative and to reinvent himself. And I think this person took a long time and making him unhappy for maybe too long. But it's also not something you should throw away your old self-image, your old beliefs, your old network into diving right into something else. But yeah, so breaking it down, what you can influence, and breaking it down is what's bringing you happiness and growth. That's a tool I use. Is where is it going to take me?
Mm.
With the problem that something I like doing, I might do for years, even though it's costing me a lot of time. Like the time I spent in EO leadership roles, I spent a lot of time on that. I cannot put a price tag on it, but yeah, it is something that I really spend a lot of time on. It gets me energy, and I think the energy and the things I learn from growing in that area brings a lot in other areas as well.
Yeah, it's you always get something out of it. But in terms of kind of going back into like really acceptance and then the courage of doing things, maybe let's talk about like things that I've personally removed because I can't impact them. For example, I'm not watching any news because it's just negative stuff that pulls you down, and you can't. I can't take action on things, or complaining about things. For example, we have a core value: Henzels don't complain, Henzels find solutions. And so, like, if you complain in German, it's beschweren, which means like to make yourself heavier. You put something on your shoulder, and I think you just like there's no real benefit in this. Like, think action oriented, or there's so much bad things going on in the world, but I want to focus on things I can impact.
You know what I did after our last podcast, David? I made a snippet. So I can pull up anywhere by if I type value with double V, then my core values pop up anywhere, if it's in Excel or Word or whatever. So if I think, okay, I'm stuck a little bit, and I can use the think time by pulling up wherever
cool,
I am, this is my core values, and then I'm clicking them away and say, okay. And
you use text expander, or what kind of
tool? Yeah, text expander, right?
Expander, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, very cool.
That's why they call it snippets. Yeah, text expander for Apple, and text phrase for Windows. Yeah, I thought it was pretty clever to
yeah,
have
it's
them
cool.
pop
I
up
like
everywhere.
it.
Yeah,
I'm still writing them down on a regular basis, pretty much every morning, and this really helps.
Writing them down often is creating connections, neural connections to each of these values. So writing them down is way better. But I thought it may be handy.
No, it's cool. I like it.
Anywhere.
It's a cool little hack. Maybe let's talk about like, when do you know the difference? Like, if you can impact something, if you can't impact something. Do you have like maybe a personal story on that?
It might something that you don't have impact on might change just by sharing it and talking to other people. And I have solved problems in my life by talking to different people from all different backgrounds, and it's like puzzle pieces coming together and made me see the finish line. So for me, sharing and talking about it, it's not only I get the feedback from other people on this issue, but also by telling it again and again, it makes it more controllable. It also takes the stress away. Like, for instance, if you have if you want to get better at something, it hugely helps to speak in a way that you're already there. I used to have a friend. I have a friend, and he always speaks like that. He would say, "I have run a marathon." I say, "Oh, cool. When was this?" And he would say, "That's next year in New York." So, "Oh, you mean you want to run?" "No, I'm going to do it. I'm working on it." He has built the pathway to that situation, and by building this pathway, it's just like peeling down. I told you in the company, the affirmations that we use in the company as well. So, okay, how does success look like? And let's peel it down. What needs to be done when? So that's pretty cool. It's also a way to seize control over a situation that can be complex or uncertain.
But I agree. I think it's definitely very beneficial if you talk about the things that you struggle with your forum, or with like trusted people, or people that are involved. Often people hit me up and say like, "Hey, you're in business, you're in tech. I have this idea for this app. This should be super cool. It's going to will change everything." You say, "Yeah, sure. Let's talk about it." It's like, "Could you please sign NDA
Right.
before we talk about it. It's always like, yeah, don't forget about it. You will never be successful with this, because you have to talk about things. Ideas are a dime a dozen. You have to talk things through. And I think it's a good point when you talk about things that stress you out with others. It often gives perspective to it. And maybe people can say, like, hey, I had a similar problem. This is how I solved it. I think it's a really good point, like talking about the things that stress you out, so you can figure out what can I accept and shelve, be done with it. I think that I can be courageous and take action on. And maybe, I think it's a really good point. Good action.
So there's 3 elements in the Serenity Prayer. It's the why, the how, and the what. And you just touched upon on the what. And how about the how? How do you solve the how?
I mean, like, first, like, how do you remind yourself of that this thing exists, right? How do you really burn this into your head, that you think about this concept? I think that's like an important thingy.
Yeah.
I have it pretty much internalized, but I mean, I guess, like, aside from writing it down or making it like one of your core values, or maybe combining with your gratitude rock, or like some recurring exercise should be there, or a question that you ask yourself.
So for me, I try to start as early as possible, and I love people that know how to give feedback on something that's been roughly shaped. So I love sharing ideas in a rough stage, and then using the feedback to change course and to make it a better problem, instead of really thinking it through, sit on a rock, think, and then do something and present it to the world. So that makes me unhappy. I'd like to get a first draft version, and let maybe put it away, and then you come across and, hey, this really sticks. This still is a good idea.
Yes,
and that gave me a
collaborative
lot of,
approach.
yeah.
Yes.
And one of the things is of course writing them down. I mean, you know what happens in a brain when you have a place for it, and when you go back to these notes and see, hey, this still resonates. That might be a good idea to pick it up. It has to be. Ideas are there for a reason, but they sometimes present themselves at the wrong time. Doesn't mean they're bad ideas. And that's the whole core about the Serenity Prayer is the distinction between that. What if you would act on every emotion, every clue, every good idea?
Yeah.
Not acting on a good idea doesn't mean the idea is bad. It
is timing right,
Yeah.
Yes. And do you have the power to actually execute on this?
What is the price if you would go after this idea? What's the price you pay in other areas of your life? Is it costing you your health? Is it costing you
time with the family?
Yeah.
Money, etc.
Yeah. So the last element is the why. So
why do you do it? I guess if you want to live a happy life, then it's definitely, and not chase windmills.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good why to do that.
Yeah, but the why is so big, it needs to know its own podcast as well. So we might as well do that. I'm looking at the time. We try to keep these short and snappy. So let's round it up here, because that's right.
What's the action item?
Yeah. Simply you try to use it. Try to know it by heart, and then if a problem occurs, look at these are these 3 elements. So, do you have the power? Is it in your?
Could be like something that stresses you out. Talk to 3 people about this. I think that's a good call to action. Think about what's stressing you out. Keep the Serenity Prayer in mind, and talk to 3 people about this to get different perspectives. I think that's
Cool.
a cool call to action.
Let's do. Yeah, so it's a good one. Okay.
Beautiful.
So if you like our podcast, go to lovenotfear.com. Sign up. We are on every platform, I guess. Spotify, YouTube, Apple. Maybe check out Managing Happiness course as well, if you the timing is right for you to delve into your developing your personal goals, your North Star. Look into Managing Happiness, and hope to see you next time.
Roll.
Cheers.